the wives of Jacob, and they deal with, okay, okay, and they deal with the children of Jacob. Now, just as a warm-up question, okay? A warm-up question. Why is why are the names of the children of Jacob important? Why? Come on, I mean, like, what would be the reason people would say, oh, that's important? Steve Miller,
They're the 12 tribes.
they're the 12 tribes. And so, how many tribes are there, Steve, among the 12 tribes?
Well, there's sort of 13 because Joseph doesn't have a tribe. His children share a tribe.
Yeah, so the 12 tribes are really 13. Don't let that throw you. It's just a little a mystery that the rabbis put into the system.
It's a
So,
baker's dozen.
pardon?
The baker's dozen.
Right.
The interesting thing about Baker's dozen is that the number 12 is one of those magical numbers in Judaism. So getting to 12 is really important no matter what's being counted or numbered. So we have the tribes, they're named the tribes. And what do we know about the tribes moving into Canaan? What can we say about their status and how they worked? Okay, we'll take the second volunteer since there is no first. Uh, what what is there that shows the impact of the tribes on the nature of Jewish life in Canaan? Mark?
I guess you're Rabbi. Was it that like Judah got the more desirable terrain, coastal areas, and then sort of the lesser tribes got the more desert, arid regions?
Okay, that is absolutely fine. Joseph, uh, uh, you know, the tribal portions were handed out, and they were handed out in such a way. We've said this before. They were handed out in such a way that the winning tribes, the tribes that got the biggest allotment of land, that's reading back into history. So that apparently those who were editing Torah made certain that the tribes that were the major tribes ended up being allocated the greatest proportion, even though that's not made clear in the text. But we can see it and we can read it. So we have the tribe. Steve?
In terms of pure area, though, weren't the tribes that didn't go into Canaan, they had to fight anyway, but they got to keep their land on the other side of the river? Didn't they actually have bigger portions of land?
Well, that's the fun, and it's a good question. The tribes, what was it? Reuven, Gad, and Chatzi Manasseh. The
Hello.
two and a half tribes.
Hey, kid. What's up, dog? Uh-oh.
The two and a half tribes requested the right to stay on the other side of the Jordan because it was very fruitful, good land. They liked it there. And oh, by the way, we wouldn't have to fight to occupy the land. They didn't quite say that, but we read it into the text. And Moses' response to that, a very simple thing. Nope, can't be done. You will go with your brothers into the land, conquer the land, occupy the land, And then if you guys want to go back to this other piece of land on the other side of the Jordan, fine. And so that's what happened. The exact layout of which tribe had which piece of land is not exact. And we look at it and we make our estimates and we try to figure out how all of that worked. Okay, now, Tamara,
Yeah.
the Jacob had 4 wives. 2 were called, I kept calling them porcupines, and I was told that that's not correct. You know, concubine, yes, porcupine, no. Okay, so how did the land get divided? Help us with that.
How did they land with 4? I didn't hear.
The land was divided up. The
Oh,
children,
how the land was divided up. Well, Joseph, Rachel's children, one of Rachel's children, Joseph, his children got the largest piece of land divided between Ephraim and Manasseh, and they got the best land. Judah, Leah's son, got the hill country, which is inland, not nearly as big and not nearly as productive. The mate children got smaller portions, but they actually got nice pieces of land, like the coastal land and much more lucrative land, but they never play a major role. The history is played out by the Rachel tribes and 2 Rachel tribes and 2 Leah's tribe.
yeah, that's all very interesting.
But what I'm hoping we'll get to do is go back to the issue of names and what the naming tells us about the women in this Torah portion. So I hope we get back to that at some point.
You have heard a subtle kick in the pants from my partner who said, we should really talk about this. And I, being astute, would say, okay, Tamara, take us into the beginning, the women, the naming, the roles.
Okay, so Donna, you have a comment or question?
No, I was just going to try to answer the question, but I'm sure you
Well,
can.
go answer the question. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it seems that all the names have to do with what was going on when that child was born from the point of view of his mother.
Right.
So Ruvain, God sees me. So God basically recognized Leah that she was not loved. So her first son is, it's not God sees me, but look, here is a son, Ruvain. Then the second one is God hears me, et cetera, et cetera. So each one of them has to do with this, another point in the story. Anyway, I could go on, but I won't.
We will.
Okay, but that's great.
Together. We're going to go through it together. But
Okay.
Rabbi, you were saying?
No, just saying that Shimon, Simon got heard all along the way. Yehuda saying thank you. They're just, the names are symbolic of their condition. And we could leave it there. They are that. And it's not preference. You have Levi. Levi interested me. How did Levi get to be called Levi? Easy. because they were Levites. No, 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 no. That came later. How did they come to be called Levi? And then you look up in the Hebrew, and I would have to admit this was not something I was instantly familiar with. Levi, God accompanies me. God accompanies me. So the names talk about situations. The names talk about conditions. Please go ahead, Tamara.
Yeah, I love this. This is a perfect segue. Thank you. Before I jump into the text and come back to Levi, I want to frame some of this within the larger pattern in Genesis, namely sibling rivalry, right? From the very beginning, we have sibling rivalry, I can't even say the word, Cain and Abel, and we end with Joseph and his brothers. We have Isaac and Ishmael, and now we have Jacob in this Torah portion running away from home because his brother is trying to kill him. With this framework of sibling rivalry, I want us to look at the sibling rivalry between the women. And one of the, and I want us to kind of walk through the text together and come to Levi and see what Leah says Levi means. Because in this story, it's the women who say what these children mean to them. And we don't have many places in the whole Bible where the writers tell us what women think or want. You know, Freud had this big question, what do women want? Well, here we have a story that tells us what two sisters want. And it's a rare moment, and it's a rivalry. But after we look at some of the competition between them, I'd like us to go back to the question of comparing their sibling rivalry and the sibling rivalry of the men. Okay?
So sibling rivalry becomes one of the major themes of Genesis. We might remember Cain and Abel, they had a thing going. Sibling rivalry, a big concern. Please go ahead.
Okay, so let's start in Genesis 29:29. It is on page 164 in the Women Commentary, and maybe someone can find the plot. It's Parashat Vayetze, which means going out. He went out, and this is Jacob going out to seek his fortune in the world and save his life.
What page in the plot?
I don't have the plot. Can someone?
199.
199?
Sounds like that. 199 plot, 164 women. Can I get a reader to read 2 verses, 29, 29, and 30? Volunteer? Come on.
Oh, come
Ahead, Donna.
Laban then gave his maid Bilhah to his daughter Rachel to be her maid. Jacob made love with Rachel too. He loved Rachel, for whom he had served Laban yet another 7 years.
Okay, so
much more than Leah.
Yeah. Before you all know the story, Jacob fell in love with Rachel immediately, offered to marry her, worked 7 years. At wedding night, Laban switched it. He found himself married to Leah. And now he got the promise that he gets Rachel too. And after 7 years, and he worked 7 more years for Rachel. So he now has 2 wives, and each of them has a maid. Now let's go to 31, which begins to tell us about the relation between the sister and the family. So let's read 31 and 32. A volunteer? Yes, Doris, please. Verse 31. You're mute.
That's not going to be good. 31. The Lord saw that Leah was unloved, and he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. Leah conceived and bore a son, and named him Reuben. For she declared, it means the Lord has sent my affliction. It also means now my husband will love me.
So, yeah, let's stop. Let's linger on this one. So, what does this son mean to Leah? What does she hope for? Steve?
Well, she's hoping that because now he has an heir, that will bring her husband back to her rather than to favor her sister, who is not have an heir.
It's very explicit, isn't it? And also that she feels that God is on her side and God sees her, so there's this hope. And so we're listening to a woman who feels unloved and begins to gain some hope that things will change. And the background for being unloved is the fact that Jacob loves Rachel. And she feels unloved either by Jacob and also by her sister.
There's also an interesting role that identifying childlessness with divine disfavor. And folks, there's a lot of that going on today, where people view whether or not they can bear children, healthy children, whatever, as a sign of divine favor or disfavor. And I just want to point out a very destructive perspective. Very, very destructive. Please go ahead.
Now, there's been a lot of work in the Jewish community trying to break away from this message about that fertility is a gift of God, and if you're not fertile, then you're not in a right relationship to God. And the Torah perpetuate this destructive thing. But there's been a lot of important work within, including the Orthodox community, where fertility is so touted as central. And
lack of fertility is also grounds for divorce.
Right. In fact, there was a law that says, it's probably still on the book, that if you didn't have children within 10 years, because that was how long Sarah was barren, if there was no child after 10 years, you were obligated to divorce your wife. And there was a film, a heartbreaking film called Kaddish. Anyone had seen it? Came out around 2000, an Israeli film about this couple. The man loves his wife. They're Orthodox and they're forced to divorce. It's a big thing. But here we're listening to a woman who feels unloved, and her hope for fullness is having this child. So now my husband will love me.
Hmm.
Then what happens next? She has another child. So let's read 33 and 34. A volunteer, Diane, please.
33. Again she became pregnant and bore a son and said, "The Eternal heard that I am despised," is that right? "And has given me this one too." Is that right? Despised. So she named him Simeon. Again
Right.
she
Go ahead. Yeah.
Again she became pregnant and bore a son and said, "Now this time my husband will be attached to me, for I have borne to him 3 sons." She therefore named him Levi.
Okay, let's stop here. Look at the name. Shimon includes the word here. Lishmoa, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, here. So that child, God will hear me, and God sees my affliction. So the only thing that matters to Leah is what? Who matters most to Leah? Her husband.
Yeah.
Love of her husband. That's the only thing she seems to care about. I want my husband's love. So God heard me and gave me another child. And then, wow, I have 3 boys. And Levi means to her that her husband will be attached to her. It's not about God. So it's really interesting that later tradition connects Levi with God accompanying. But in the Torah, Levi is named Levi because his mother hopes that her husband will be devoted to her and that she will be important or more important than her sister. Quite different. So through these names, we're taken into this drama of unrequited love by a woman who is being blessed with children, and the only thing she wants is the love of her husband. And then she has a 4th son. Let's find out about him, and then we will go to Rachel. 35, the 4th son. Diane, you want to keep reading?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Again she became pregnant and bore a son and said, "This time I give thanks to the Eternal." She therefore named him Judah. Then she stopped bearing.
Okay. So Judah, Yehudah, is related to the word todah, or to hodu, give thanks. So what do you get is, what do you see here, Leah's mood? Where is she in her story? How does she feel? No one? Yeah, go ahead, Natalie.
Well, she feels powerful now.
Is she frustrated?
She's frustrated still about her husband, but she knows she has power with her sons now.
Do you think she's frustrated about him?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Anyone else? What do you think we're told? Yeah, Susie?
I think that she might be very frustrated, maybe even angry with herself, that here she has borne the 4 boys and it's not making any difference to her husband. Therefore, she might be blaming herself for this.
Interesting. So why is she giving thanks to God? What might it mean that she's naming her child, thank you, God? I mean, that's in a way what the name means. I saw a hand and then it disappeared. Marina, please.
Well, she had 4 sons. One, she's seen, she's heard, she's longing for attachment.
There's a lot of parking in the
And
other lot,
then-
which is closer.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
If
so if you
she-
just go
Kevin,
to the next
Kevin?
entrance, that's where I'm going.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Kevin, can you mute? Kevin, please.
Sorry, I didn't think that was on.
Okay. I
And
know.
then when her husband still doesn't love her the way she wants, she is thankful for having 4 sons, because now they are her wheels, they are her support. I think she is grateful for the family she has, for the love she will get from her sons, even though she cannot get the love that she's looking for.
Good.
I think that's really important, by the way.
Yeah.
She is going to get love, but love from the children, her sons, not from her husband.
Yeah.
How does a spouse buy love from the spouse? How do you do that? How do you make your husband, wife love you?
You can't.
And the story seems to be can't be done.
No.
It can't be done. Whatever you do to attempt to purchase that love won't work out.
Can't buy love.
And that's a very serious kind of a thing. The Bible speaks a lot about love in different ways.
Yeah.
When in the Song of Songs there is love, what was the purchase for the husband's love? What was paid for it in the Song of Songs? Nothing. It was love. It was love. They faced each other, they met each other, they went dancing in the fields together. And that's what it takes to manipulate love, is to guarantee failure. It can't be done. I have to change myself so my wife will love me. I have to change myself so my husband will love me. And my reading of the text says failure, 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 failure. It can't happen. Love is something which occurs between 2 people and not as a business arrangement. Tamara?
Yeah, and what we get here, and it's been said, whatever is her relationship or expectation from Jacob, one way or another, she's now content. She has made peace, either because she feels she will have love because she has children, or because she thinks that maybe Jacob loves her more because she has children. For whatever reason, she's grateful. And she said, I've done it, I'm done. And life is good. And all we have is gratitude. But things change. Let's see what happens. One woman's satisfaction triggers something in Rachel. And living in the world in which they live, children take importance that poisons their relationship. So let's read about Rachel, chapter 30 verses 1 and 2. I need a reader. Then I want to, Natalie, please.
When
Yeah.
Rachel saw that she had borne Jacob no children, she became envious of her sister. And Rachel said to Jacob, "Give me children or I shall die." Jacob was incensed at Rachel and said, "Can I take the place of God, who has denied you fruit of the womb?" She said, "Here."
Wait, hold it.
We'll stop. Okay,
Wow.
sorry.
Wow. Two things, right? She is jealous. Her sister has everything. What Rachel's reaction tells us, for her, love is not enough. Her husband loves her, but that's not enough. She's jealous of her sister, and she demands a child. What do you think about Jacob's response to his desperate wife? Is he what a loving husband might say to a desperate wife? Dana is shaking her hand. What's wrong with it?
He's basically saying, what do you want from me? I'm not God, which is not really thinking about her feelings
Yeah.
at all.
I think he's getting a little bit annoyed with her too.
He's very annoyed with her.
A little bit more.
And he's saying basically it's your problem. You know, God prevented you, not God prevented us. There is no support. And this scene, bear in mind, this is a man who loves this woman and is working 14 years for her. And in this moment of her despair, he's so not what you hope from a loving husband. And this contrasts beautifully and significantly with another husband of Hannah. When Hannah is crying out that she doesn't have children, her husband says to her, what? Does anyone remember, Donna?
Aren't I better than having 10 sons because I love you so much?
Yeah. Isn't it enough that I love you so much? You'd expect Jacob to say that, but that's not what he says. So desperate Rachel takes matter into her hands and gives her maid to Jacob to impregnate, because in the ancient world, you can do that, as was in American slavery. And the child in ancient world, the child of a slave woman becomes the child of the slave owner, in this case, Rachel. So her maid has a child, and she names him Dan in verse 6, because she says, God judged me and has listened to my plea and has given me a son. Dan, like Dean, is related to justice and judgment. Oh. And then Bilhah the maid has another son. And in verse 8, Rachel names the other son. And look at how she understands these children and what she's doing. Can we get a reader for 8?
And Rachel said, a fateful contest I waged with my sister, yes, and I have prevailed. So she named him Naphtali.
So what is motivating Rachel to have children, and what is motivating Leah to have children? What's motivating Rachel? Yeah, Jonathan?
Keeping her favored status, envy, jealousy.
Jealousy and rivalry with her sister. It's all about her sister. Her husband love doesn't seem to be as important directly. I won over my sister. I wrestled and I won. And by the way, on this verse, people point out that Rachel in some ways is a mirror, not a mirror image, but is a similar person as Jacob. She wrestles here as he would wrestle with his brother in that famous night next week. So she's wrestling with her sister. So we have this competition. Leah is competing for her husband's love. Rachel is competing to win over her sister. And then Leah gets back into the fray, and she has a child, and she calls him God because it means good luck. And then she has yet another child and names him Asher, which means happy or joyful. So Leah is winning the battle of the babies, but they're fighting with each other. And now we come to a really interesting moment.
Okay, could I just slip in here?
Please jump in.
Language always grabs me. Now I am a dead woman.
Yes.
We shouldn't let that slide by.
No.
What was her sense of self-worth? What was her sense of role in society, in family? She has children. What is it? She looks at what she wants and she doesn't get it. And she said, I'm dead. I'm dead. There's nothing left of me to enter the world. I just find that painful, so painful. You could say to people, oh, think about all of your blessings. Well, guess what? She could not think of a single one.
Yeah.
She didn't have blessings. She had the curses. And by the way, Tamara mentioned that other case in the book of Judges in which the promise of God brings a miraculous baby or someone who's very special. This goes through all of Jewish literature, that theme, the importance of the child, the importance of the, you want to go to an Arabic parallel. I have a friend who is Arab and Muslim, and he had a son born to him. And the son's name, I forget now, let's call him Mohammed, whatever. What happens to the father's name? He is Abu Muhammad, the father of Muhammad. The child's name changes the status of the parent. It goes on that way. Okay.
And what we didn't talk about yet, or in passing, it is the mothers who name the children here.
Yes.
And what we see is that each naming is expression of the hope and aspiration of the mother. And the 12 tribes and Judah, we are as Jews, we are the product of a woman who said, thank you. And that's the fourth child, not the first. The firstborn does not in Genesis become the major figure. In the ancient world, firstborn, as in British society, up to the modern age, firstborn had extra rights. In Israelite society, we can't tell for sure, but in the Bible, it's usually not the firstborn. David is the youngest child. Judah is the fourth son.
Jacob came out second.
And Jacob is second, yes. And Isaac is the second child of Abraham. So there is this rejection or counter narrative. But we're going to look now at a scene where the two women speak to each other directly for the first time. So far, they spoke to us indirectly through the naming of the children. One wanted her husband's love, one wanted her man, the other one wanted to have a child, to win against her sister.
Then I'm in Torah study. Can I call you back?
So now we have verse 14. I need a reader for this episode, starting at 14, 20, 30, 14.
14? Oh.
Yeah, 167 in the Women Commentary. Do I see a hand? Donna.
In the time of the excuse me, in the time of the wheat harvest, Reuben went out and found mandrakes in the field. When he brought them to his mother Leah, Rachel said to Leah, "Pray give me some of your son's mandrakes." She replied, "Isn't it enough that you took my husband and now you want to take my son's mandrakes?" And Rachel said, "Very well. Let him sleep with you tonight in exchange for your son's mandrakes."
Keep reading.
When Jacob came in from the field that evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, "I am the one you will bed tonight, for I have bought you with my son's mandrakes."
Just interfere for a second. Wow, what a statement. Hey, Joe, you're sleeping with Mary tonight. I did it for, I got dandelions, and that's you. And so the husband coming in from work said, all right, I'll go over here. That's a.
No,
I like the, isn't it enough that you stole my husband?
What?
I love the line, "Isn't it enough that you stole my husband?"
I want to go back to that. The two women talk to each other, and we hear Rachel's anguish. Let's talk about those mandrakes. In the story and in the ancient world, apparently mandrakes, whatever they are believed to be a fertility drug. It'll make you fertile. That's why Rachel wants it. It's not that she needs some spinach for the salad. It's that she hopes that this will make her pregnant. And so she asks Leah to give her that which Rachel needs. And we hear Rachel for the first time say to her sister and to us very directly how she experiences life. Rachel, you stole my husband. My husband loves you. He doesn't love me. And what does Rachel do? Rachel offers the husband to her rival. So Rachel symbolically gives Jacob to Leah. She hands him over symbolically and practically. But the symbolism, I think, is very important. Because Leah, we know, loves Jacob, but she's saying, okay, you can have him. I mean, Rachel says, oh, you can have him. And Leah, whose claim to joy, happiness, security has been children, which was what made her more important perhaps than her sister, gives symbolically fertility to her rival. In other words, each woman gives the other what the other longs for. It's an amazing moment of exchange in which the two women unite in helping each other have what each wants. Do you see that in the text? Am I overreading it?
No.
When Leah gives the Dudaim, the mandrake, she's giving Rachel fertility in the story. And Leah receives Jacob in turn. So we have seen women, each wants what the other has. And now there's a moment in which they share and they come together. And the next time they'll appear in the story, they will be speaking in one voice. There's no competition any longer. They're going to speak together to Jacob. So this is a turning point of a rivalry between siblings, two sisters. Now, let's go back to, and excuse my gender-based bias here, but how would you compare the sibling rivalry of males in Genesis with the sibling rivalry of females in Genesis?
What a great question.
Now, what a question that has an obvious point to it.
Donna wants to tell us.
I don't know if this is the right answer, but it seems to me that in the ancient world, the currency for women, what gave them power, was children. And in the ancient world, what gave men power was their land, or having the blessing, having the inheritance. And so when you see the men fighting, it's over the inheritance. Who's going to get that blessing and be the one who carries this all forward? And for women, it's about how many children do you have? Because that is what shows your value. So that's my.
That is a wonderful description of the reality of the world of the text. But here is a message that we're left with, and I know we have to stop. We have to move towards the Kaddish. We're left with a picture in which men's competition translates into attempt to destroy each other. That's the only way to win. Women's competition, in turns into producing more life. And I think people sometimes talk about, oh, women can never get together. You know, that stereotype. We don't use it anymore, but oh, yeah, bickering. Well, yeah, there's bickering in the household of Jacob and in the household of Genesis, a lot of bickering, but it ends in producing life, ends in producing children. So the message is, when women fight, they bring life. When brothers fight, they risk destruction. And I think that's just an astonishing message to see in a book that's often accused of being patriarchal. I think I'd like us to not think of it as patriarchal so much as androcentric. It's mostly interested in the point of view of men, and it thinks about men. But when it presents women, gives us this astonishing picture of women whose desperation leads them to first fight through fertility, but then come together and exchange and empower each other instead of trying to win over each other. So that's kind of buried in that story about naming.
I'd like to interfere at this point by sharing with everyone in this class a secret. My name is Stanley Davids. Are you with me?
Yes.
Stanley Shmaryahu. That's my Hebrew name. Oh, but what's your Hebrew family name? My Hebrew family name is Dudai.
That's beautiful. What does it mean?
And Judaim is the Hebrew word for mandrakes.
I am the love potion. Okay?
Oh,
And you know, you may want to send letters of congratulation to Risa, but
Does the M stand for mandrake?
so anyway, you can say Stanley Mandrake or Stanley Davids. It carries the same meaning.
Well, the David's part connects you with Leah's fourth son, too. So you're both a source of gratitude, Todah, and a Judaim. So that's a nice combination, you know?
I'm sorry, I have to leave. I have an appointment.
bye, dear. Have a good week.
I have to leave too, but I know we're moving towards the Kaddish.
Yes, we'll do Kaddish now. But thank you to all of you. You realize how strong this group is, how it stays intact and seems to get smarter every week. And I love it. Okay, so we're going to move now to Kaddish, as is appropriate. Those who have passed away during the past month include Melvin Adler, Susan Kaplan, Phyllis Castle, Edith Krieger, Irit Kriegler, Audrey Pikelny, Miriam Reisman, Fuad Salem. And the following Yortzites have occurred during the past week. And while we're doing this, we are going to add the name of David Ellenson because his Yortzeit is being observed at this time. David Ellenson, president of the Hebrew College, brilliant scholar, gorgeous human being, who made a significant impact on our world. So David Ellenson goes with Sarah Nazarian Tarzad, Ted Armel, Rose Bailey, David Barken, Philip Bartmasser, Beverly Glusoff Berman, Bernice Bernstein, Beatrice Blackman, Estelle Bloomfield, Jack Broder, Jean Bressel, Gertrude Bubar, Nat Bubar, Esther Caden, Maurice Cheo, Francine Chernoff, David Cohn, Florence Cohn, Ann Cooper, Judy Corman, Anson Dreisen, Judy Eder, Gary Finkel, Eli Fishman, Seema Frankel, Bertha Friedman, Renee Bowden Friedman, Roselle Cohn Friedman, Harry Golden, Nathaniel Goldstein, Edie Gordon, Minnie Gordon, Charlie Grace, Betty Greenberg, David Greenberg, James Greenwald, Carlotta Gutworth, Edith Ginn, Marvin Ginn, J. Allen Hanover, Renee Dunya Hawley, Eric Hershkovitz, Dora Hodes, Francis Lesman, Iraj Kahanasa, Tzvi Carney, Najat Katan, Andrew David Kent, Richard Lance Kirshner, Eric Clapper, Morton Kleinberg, Edward Lash, Hal Leventhal, Jane Litwin, Mort Lowy, Sylvia Lurie, Sion Mahani, Arthur Malin, Estelle Markowitz, Seymour Markowitz, Mildred Brick Mayer, Robert Mendelson, Carol Miller, Jay Maloney, Emmanuel Morkey, Max Nyman, Arthur Pearl, Spencer Pritikin, Edward Maurice Regal, Herno Magero, Belle Reamer, Rosangela Lucienne Rinsky, Lester Riskin, Jack Robbins, Dora Levy Roddy, Ruth Rosenberg, Arnold Rosenzweig, Alan Rossin, Janice Ruda, James London Shandling, Barbara Silvers, Isaac Spluth, Adrian Sobel, Bessie Sommer, Mayo Stark, Jack Stillerman, Annette Sussman, Valeria Wolf, Joan Seligson. If you have any other names that you would like to be read at this time, please speak their names aloud.
Gary Weiner and Sam Weiner.
We bear in
Shopson
mind,
and Ruben Shopson.
we bear in mind as well the names of those who gave their lives to preserve the United States of America, to those who died, who gave their lives in pursuit of the existence of the State of Israel. We mention as well those who have died and have no one to say Kaddish for them. We remember them all as we say together, Yitgadal Kadash Shemei Rabbah Bialma Yivrach Birutei
Biamlich Malchutei,
V'chayim Yomecho
Uvchaye Beit Yisrael, Hagalah Vizman Baruch Yimru Amen.
Amen. Yehei
Shmei Rabbah
Bavarach
Leolam Leomaya,
Amaya Yitbarach
Shabbat, V'Torah, V'Tramam,
Yitbarach
V'Aseh, V'Tadar, V'Toreh, V'Torah, Shemei V'Kusha, Richu,
La'ela
Elah, Birchata, B'Shirata, Tushkata, V'Nechamata, Ta'amiran, Yalma, V'Imru, Amen. Yehi Shalom, Rabbi Mishmaya, V'Chayim Aleinu, V'Yakal Yisrael, V'Imru, Amen.
Amen.
Oseh Shalom,
Amen.
Yaseh
Aleinu, V'Yakal
Yaakov
Yisrael,
Yisrael.
V'Imru, Amen.
Amen.
Amen. May God, who makes peace in the high places, make peace in our hearts, make peace in our homes, make peace in the household of Israel, make peace among all the families and nations of the earth. And let us say,
Amen. And I'll bring my piano and help.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
Love you all. God bless
Have a
you.
wonderful week, everyone.
Bye, Muriel.
Bye.
Shabbat shalom.
Bye. Thank you, Tom.
I just have to tell you what an honor it is for me to partner with Tamara. That becomes delicious.
It's an honor for all of us to have both of you.
Well said.
That's right.
Have a beautiful Shabbat.
You too.